Everyone, all of you are about to step into the LICH'S lair. We don't have a musical sting for that, but it would have been cool. Dun, 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 right when I said that. Yep. And Crowley, if you're watching right now, you're going to get dragged up in just a second.
Gone with the...
Oh, hey, Crowley, we dragged you up here.
Crowley, we dragged you up. It's time for a segment that we're calling the LICH'S lair. This is a new segment here on Fantasy Labs, where every week, hopefully, we're going to be bringing someone on with a homebrew that they have made to present to me and Jeremy, professional LICH'S. And for anyone familiar, for example, with the content, the TV show Shark Tank, or perhaps its predecessor Dragon's Den, this is going to be very much in that vein. We are going to hear their homebrew, present it for all of you to look at as well, and judge them on their performance and see whether or not this lich would, these liches would add this treasure to their collection of magical artifacts and strange captured souls and all the things that a lich possesses. So Crowley, hello, welcome.
Hi.
You step now into the LICH'S lair.
Sure.
We got that sting again. That's where the sting would be like.
What did
That
you?
just sounded like the millionaire sting.
Yeah, that was the millionaire sting. God damn it.
What did you bring to present to us today? What do you have for us?
I have a subclass.
Do you have a link for that subclass for me, Crowley?
It is in the show doc.
Oh, man. I'm really slow today, boys.
Yeah, get on it.
And I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm about to open this for the first time now.
All right, it's also a bard college, so...
Oh, you also have a bard college, lol. And I'm looking at it right now. We have it up on the screen here.
All right.
The Bardic College of Therapy. We're going to be going through and...
The Blue Boys in Heaven.
Now, worth mentioning, the reason, where I got this was, for those familiar with the show Critical Role, I think it was a while back that they had some sort of stressful event. I don't even remember. But,
it was probably every session.
I mean, yeah, but Taliesin on the show joked about a therapist bard, and I thought that would be an interesting idea. I'm going to make a therapist bard. And then Pete said, I need you to make something for this thing that we're trying out. And I'm like, I'm going to make that therapist bard. So here we are.
Here we are. And this is the College of Therapy. Without further ado, let's work our way through. Crowley, would you like to read your College of Therapy bard, or would you like me or Jeremy to do it?
Go ahead. You can do
All
it.
right.
Pete, you do it.
I will
Tossing you in, my dude.
I will do it. College of Therapy. Bards of the College of Therapy study the psyche and look to boost the confidence and mental faculties of their friends and companions. Bards of this college are excellent listeners and understand how others feel and think. They use their innate insight to bolster their allies and seize upon the insecurities of their enemies. Often highly inquisitive, bards of this college tend to ask a lot of questions. They have a tendency to ask deeply personal and sometimes intrusive questions to get to the root of a problem they always want to know what makes people tick. While their constant and sometimes very deep questions can be troublesome to others, therapist bards tend to make excellent companions, often reassuring their companions and making them see past their own faults. While many bards of this college set out on the open road, offering their services to any in need. Many also settle down at some point to start their own practice. The College of Therapy, just a very relaxing, I guess it depends on the bard. The one I was imagining is a very relaxing bard. So I thought the way to do these LICH'S lairs, Jeremy, and tell me if you're in agreement, is to actually read everything at once and then evaluate it as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I like it.
Very good. So
let me take active listening.
Yeah, take it.
Active listening. When you choose this college at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in the insight skill. If you're not already proficient, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check made that uses insight. I like it. Also at level 3, you get guided meditation. At 3rd level, you're able to guide others to a state of calm and relaxation. When you use your Song of Rest feature, you instead play a calming, soothing tune as you guide your companions to a meditative state. Any creature that benefits from your Song of Rest feature has their level of exhaustion reduced by 1. All right. And remediating inspiration. At 3rd level, your bardic inspiration calms and soothes your allies. When you grant a creature your bardic inspiration die, choose from the following options. You end the charmed or frightened condition on the creature, or the creature gains temporary hit points equal to half your bard level rounded down plus your charisma modifier.
And then, this is also a 3rd level feature here.
Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of 3rd levels. One-on-one session. At 3rd level, you learn to suppress the anxieties and insecurities of other creatures and instill them with a greater sense of confidence by listening to their troubles and magically siphoning off negative thoughts. If you listen to a humanoid alone for at least 1 minute while they vent their troubles and frustrations, you can attempt to instill a greater level of confidence within them and tamp down their insecurities and anxieties. At the end of the conversation, you must succeed on a charisma check. The DC for the check is equal to 8, plus the charisma modifier of the humanoid you spoke with, plus their proficiency bonus. If you succeed, you magically bolster the creature's confidence, and they gain advantage on ability checks made with a stat of your choice for 1 hour. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. I'm already loving the flavor of that.
Do you want to do heightened security, Pete? Or should I?
Yeah, sure. At 6th level, you learn to seize upon your foes' insecurities. You learn the Vicious Mockery cantrip if you didn't already know it. This does not count against the number of cantrips you know. When you deal damage with this cantrip, you may add your charisma modifier. Additionally, when a creature fails their saving throw against your Vicious Mockery, you may further heighten their insecurities. You may pick one of the creature's stats. Until the start of your next turn, the creature has disadvantage on all saving throws and ability checks using this stat. You may use this ability a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. You regain any expended uses when you finish a long rest. And then we'll take group therapy.
Yeah, level 14, you get group therapy. Beginning at 14th level, you emit a calm and reassuring aura. Allied creatures within 30 feet of you that you can see gain resistance to psychic damage and have advantage on saving throws to avoid being charmed or frightened. Additionally, as a bonus action, you can mentally link with a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier minimum of 1 within your aura that you can see. While linked in this way, you and all creatures can communicate with each other telepathically. This effect lasts for 1 hour until you become incapacitated or until you end this effect as a bonus action. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest.
All right. Let us begin. And Jeremy, as a way of going through this, I wanted to kind of come at it from the angle of the rubric.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. So just a quick refresher for the chat. Our rubric, we're looking for space. Is there room for it in 5e? Balance, is it technically balanced? Playability, does this being part of the game hurt the game in any way? Design, is the design elegant and easy to follow? And flavor, does it make you want to play? So Pete, right. let's get kicking.
Okay, so for starters, we're going to talk about the space. Is there room for a College of Therapy bard? And Crowley, as we're going through this, if we say something that you disagree with, I would love it. Please feel free to defend your work in any way.
Sure.
Or to just make any clarifying notes you would like to make about anything you've done here.
Yes.
And Cold Spark was asking the activation on group therapy was a bonus action.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's specifically for the telekinetic. So I'm realizing there was more. That's specifically for the telepathy. The other stuff is just sort of standard on while the bard is not incapacitated.
Okay. So it's an aura plus the as a bonus action. You can do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So
is there space for this in 5e?
I think the answer is yes. Absolutely.
Yes, I think there is. I definitely think there is. I really liked your incorporation of Vicious Mockery into like the core mechanic of the subclass, because it's something that's like such a part of the bard, but most bards that I've run into end up really lamenting that they chose that cantrip because it didn't feel very good to use a lot of the time. I really like that that's in here and that this is incorporating it in a more active element.
Similarly, I like that you're adding a little bit of usage for Song of Rest in there, because Song of Rest is
similar to what I said. Yep.
Yeah. Traditionally an unused feature. So Song of Rest is a nice add. So
Plus, let's look at like what are the other bards, right? Lore, I'm into like super secrets, and
well, the one that this
valor,
is the
I want to be a
closest
hero.
The one that this is the closest to, I think, is the College of Whispers bard, which is a bard that learns information about people to kind of used against them. So in that regard, these are familiar, but I would say that the College of Whispers is a much more like almost evil tinge. It relates a little bit more to psychic damage, and it's more about like attacking, and this one has more of a focus on that style, but from a positive direction. So that works for me. I think there's enough there to justify it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd have to really give the College of Whispers a good look, but a lot of this seems to be like all this stuff at early levels and the 14th level feature, right? It's all about helping your allies, which is very contrary to the College of Whispers.
Yeah.
So only
It's like
really
that
6th level feature conflicts with it.
It's like a good College of Whispers is kind of the vibe I get for this.
So one-on-one session was based on the College of Whispers and Glamour Bards, like things.
Yeah, they have a comparable feature.
Yeah.
Each of them do, where they can spend time doing a thing and get some stuff.
So, well, that's space. That's the space of this. And I think I'd give it the point for space. Do you agree, Jeremy?
I think so. There's also the added kind of aspect of this doesn't feel like an adventurer so much. I mean, I get where you put down at the beginning, right? They travel offering their service to those in need, but it kind of doesn't feel like the hero to me. I mean, obviously, it was inspired by a one-off joke in the show Critical Role, but I'm wondering, like, is that origin, right, of it was a joke, too hampering to the concept as a whole, right? Is it something that you think, Carly, that people could actually take seriously as a like legitimately strong and compelling choice? Or do you feel, because my fear, right, is so many people that would take this class would, well, they take it as a joke, right? They wouldn't take it as like I seriously want to role play this option.
No, I mean, I would seriously role play this. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I disagree.
Oh, I'm not saying it is. I'm asking, would there? You know, is that the case?
I think they would. I think this is a serious option. I made the mechanics too.
Well, then and then the next question, right, is it a bad thing if some people would see this as like a joke option?
No.
Like, yeah, I'm not sure it is.
It's definitely also not a bad thing. No.
Has kind of the two sides to it.
Well, while we're talking about kind of the beginning here, want to skip it down and talk about the
real
flavor
quick
of this?
though. I don't disagree with Cold Spark that it could use a rename. I just could not find a good word for it.
Yeah, and maybe that's thank you, Cold Spark, because that's exactly what I was kind of getting at here. I think the name might be a little too much. Yeah, right. It might imply some ideas that like are still a little too goofy for some folks.
It carries a certain implications with it.
Yeah, ideally this would have a different name, but same general concept.
I was going to say,
Okay.
I'd like to skip down to the flavor section for a moment, since we're kind of here at the beginning and talking about the flavor at the beginning. One thing that's thrown me off a little bit about is this, the point about them being very inquisitive and asking questions. That felt more like a specific character to me than something that would be a defining trait of a full college of bards.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like the point of that's a therapist. They ask a lot of questions, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I know. Sorry, this is Crowley's job to defend, but I totally got where that was coming from.
I get it, like I said, as a character, but I could picture someone in the same way wanting to play this as
Just a,
sort of more of
observant.
the yes.
Sure.
How do you feel about that? Like that kind of
but that's still in that vein, I think.
It's
gleaning
close,
by
but
observation, right, rather than necessarily by direct position.
Exactly. That seems like the other, because when you're making one, and this is why I think it had the space for me, is because I was thinking of it as a broader thing where there are a lot of different ways to perform therapy. Like I could picture someone wanting to play Like,
Guys, Dungeons and Dragons has been prescribed as therapy for people. Like,
I was picturing someone wanting to maybe even play like this is a masseuse, and you kind of just go around performing because psychiatry is kind of the area here, but I think therapy is a broader concept that extends beyond just discussion and speaking. It's about like healing the mind and soothing the mind, which is why I thought it was broad enough. So when you put it down to that, just asking questions, that cut that out for me, and I think this is served better with a wider scope.
Sure, I'm not opposed to broadening the scope. I'll be real. The flavor I wrote pretty quickly today. So,
well, the mechanics are all pretty solid, and I think the mechanics could easily be used for a more broader College of Soothing is an idea Malkara was saying in the chat. I think it's a really great. By the way, for the chat, if all of you new folks coming in, if we pronounce your name wrong, I mean, we're just reading it. So if we do it wrong, please do not feel bad correcting us. We love you guys. We want to be respectful to your
absolutely
your presentation.
I like both options that Malkara sort of put forward, soothing or guidance.
Yeah, they're both very good. Oh, I didn't even see guidance. Jeez, I gotta scroll down.
Usually they're nouns, like college of this noun.
Right.
Except for, I guess, glamour is on the
guidance
edge.
Can technically be a noun, though.
I guess. Yeah, that's what I say. Glamour is on the edge, too. So I think College of Guidance would work. Soothing doesn't quite work for me, but I think guidance could go there.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think that would, there'd be some reflavoring of things in here, but the mechanics, I think, can stay more or less the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the mechanics are there. So in terms of flavor, for me, it was a little bit off, and I'm on the fence. There are some changes here that I would want to see for it to fully work, unless we're really leaning into that like psychiatrist, you were like the mentalist vibe, which this hits that in a couple places, but not everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Coltspark was saying the flavor of healing/soothing of the mind conflicts with the already performing flavor of bards. You're right, except that the Whisper's bard is a thing, which is intentionally not that, right? There's a discretion to them. There is just a quiet, manipulative aspect to it that I think, because that exists, that stretches what the bard is and gives an opening here.
So do you want to start talking?
Are we giving them the point?
I'm on the fence, but I would like to hear your thought, Jeremy. If you're saying yes, then I would agree yes. But if you're saying no, then I would lean. I'm right on the line.
Yeah, I'm also very much on the line. I mean, it's good, but
yeah, I think it.
I'm not necessarily
on that.
Yeah.
So I think right now it's 1-1.
Yeah, I think it needs to be taken into that more broad direction. Some of these abilities need to be reflavored to be a little more broadly encompassing for soothing or healing or whatever you want to call it. And I think that will help to alleviate some of the concerns with the it's a gag that which, I mean, that's not a personal issue on my part. That's a broader scope of other people reading it.
And that's like a tough thing to design around too. Like, if it works and you think there's a chance that people will think of it as a gag, that's usually okay for me, because I don't want to design something that I think is genuinely cool and shut down.
We made a druid circle of trash, all right?
That was a very serious subclass. That was a really awesome subclass. I love the druid. Okay. Let's start looking at the balance on this. So to begin off the bat, I think it's definitely it's very overtuned. Starting with, you want to start at third level here?
Here's the thing, right? There's a lot at third level. There's a lot of things, and the insight skill expertise is a lot, but I'm not that concerned because it is very core to the class. Guided meditation is cool, but the exhaustion is just either so not applicable, or if you have a frenzied barbarian, right, a berserker in your party, incredibly powerful. So this is kind of like a very polarizing feature. And then the inspirations are just good.
Well,
The remediating inspiration first half is the one that I have the most issue with. Um, I think ending the charmed or frightened condition on a creature is too powerful for a boon to inspiration.
I completely disagree with
Um,
I mean, you can't say it's like the guided meditation is overtuned based on one subclass.
Oh, I wasn't saying it's overtuned. I was saying it's either really not a feature,
Sure.
so ribbon, or
it is
really good.
I mean, I think it's
one or the
still a
other.
ribbon for the most part.
Mhm.
Like, but the ending the charmed or frightened condition on a creature, I don't think is. I mean, it's significant, and I might just. I was considering just making it just that for a while, but then it kind of. But like, if you look at other bards, I would say they're at least comparable. And I mean, maybe it's not the one you want to compare to, but I mean, Glamour is ridiculous with its level 3 things.
Agreed. That Glamour is.
Glamour.
I don't really want to. You're right. I don't want to compare.
When
Glamour.
we're comparing, we do really want to focus on the player's handbook, as that is our main point of order. But because we know Glamour is so much stronger than the player's handbook bard options, I think we can acknowledge it can be stronger in the player's handbook, but I think it should certainly be weaker than the Glamour option.
Glamour should be considered your.
We don't want to make
outside
the new ballpark.
So for me, ending the charmed or frightened condition, a comparable effect that does this is Calm Emotions, which is a second level spell that does it in area, but also
Lesser Restoration is another example that is similar, but not as
specific. Yeah, I guess Calm Emotion is the one I think of, but Lesser Restoration has that effect as well.
They're both second level.
What you would have at this point.
Yeah.
But I think having that just tacked on, having a second level spell effect tacked on to Bardic Inspiration is a little heavy because every bard gets something that interacts and makes their Bardic Inspiration unique. I think that's heavy for a Bardic Inspiration. A comparable one would be, for example, like another example is Cutting Words just makes it so you can use your reaction to do it to something coming in rather than something outgoing. Like that's almost just a shift in utility rather than direct power, and this is just
Cutting Words is absolutely direct power. You can add that to your armor class, basically, or reduce their attack. That's huge.
Reducing their attack. Yeah, also you can do with Valor, you can add to your armor
I would
class.
say Cutting Words is stronger than this.
Oh, I disagree.
The
I
only
would say
issue
Valor is...
my qualm here, very similar to like the guided meditation, right? Is this is either not a feature because you're not fighting something with charms or frightened, or it's really good.
Well, like, which is why the not a feature thing was why I put in the 10 hit point.
Yeah, like because my personal take on this, right? You look at like a dragon, right? They're the most common enemy that has a fright effect, a fear effect. And the most common creature with maybe a charm effect is like a harpy or something, right? And that's the whole monster is that effect for the most part. Some monsters later on will have the fear spell, but that's their action to do that fear spell. And this is your bonus action to counter that action, assuming it even succeeds. I would...
On one creature, though. Like,
of course.
Everyone,
sure.
Harpy do it to everyone kind of thing.
I personally would like this to be, if a creature is charmed or frightened, right, they can immediately make a save against it and add the die to the roll or something like that. Right? That might be what to me is a more, what do you call it? Compromising option. I'm more on your side of things, Crowley, than I am with Pete's here. I'm not sure this is too powerful, but it might be too niche for me.
Well, let's talk about, in that case, if we're going to compare this, I think we're touching into some of the playability tier rather than just talking about
that definitely was more of that.
My issue is also very much one of playability, where as a DM, running a creature that has a charm or frighten becomes pretty invalidated by this feature, I think. You know, a late game dragon that's going to frighten the whole party, that's a different story because you get one around. But you want to run a mid-tier enemy that like maybe can take control of one of your allies for a round, those are generally charm effects, and that would
Vampire.
be ended by it. A vampire is a great example. And that cuts out like a really cool broad strokes thing that's in the GM's tool belt.
Kind of the reason I don't like the Devotion Paladin, because its aura does that. And I understand comparing this to the aura of the Devotion Paladin. I mean, the Devotion Paladin's aura is way more busted than this. But that's Paladins to Bards, apples and oranges. Or apples and like grapes, because the Bard is smaller and not as delicious as an orange.
Just
smaller and weak compared to
smaller and fragile.
Strawberries to kumquats.
Sword Go here in chat saying, right, too many niche situations required for them to be effective. Well, I don't necessarily think that's the case, because, like, you know, you did put in the 10 hit points. And I think that's a good, like, ulterior option there.
Yeah. And then that made sense for me, like the false confidence, I think, is the...
The false confidence? Yikes!
Wow.
Whoa, this is a brutal...
What?
I was just thinking regular confidence.
Yeah.
I use regular confidence. Well, I mean, believing that you're stronger than you are, confidence, false confidence, whatever you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's heroism. It's the spell heroism, but a little better.
Oh, yeah.
And on the inside.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have too many issues here. I would definitely prefer it, right, if it were just the 10 hit points, and then even if this were in addition, they can immediately make a save against the effect if they have, if they are. That would personally be my compromise there, but
yeah, that would work a little bit closer for me. But that was the area that was the hang up. And I guess rather than all of this, I just think one of these third level features would need to go personally. And I don't know which one. The one that I think I like the most is one-on-one session is maybe a little elaborate, but I really like it. That one worked for me really well. Just the idea of you really just sit down and hash it out with someone, and they're feeling better for a while, and they get advantage for the day. I like that it's one a day, or one per short rest. It's for interaction pillar, and I think it's fun. I like the idea that it can fail, which you meet with someone, you don't make any progress. I feel like is the flavor there. So that one worked for me. So between guided meditation and active listening, I feel like just 4 features is too dense.
Right.
In the third level.
Yeah, and that might end up being, and honestly, part of that could just simply being, right, like merging a couple of these. Like if we took some of the effects of active, like stuck this guided meditation into active listening, just having the one that's a psychological, there's one less thing, that might like help. From at least from that perspective, like you're saying, Pete.
And honestly, that one-on-one session works so well for I'm like rereading that, and I like that more each time I read it, and I'm almost thinking
that was my probably my favorite thing I put in this. So.
I almost want to give you, that one's inspired for sure. I'm reconsidering my opinion on the flavor point.
Well, and let me. I had something to confront about the balance point, and that's heightened insecurities. I really like that you incorporated Bardic and Vicious Mockery and made it into a bigger thing. But disadvantage on saving throws?
Yeah, it's got to be ability check.
Whoa! What's up with that, Mike?
That's a 3 sorcery point sorcerer move.
But you can give it to anyone, and it's.
Yeah, I mean, it might. Well. It's a little overtuned.
It's a lot overtuned. I saw the cantrip that had come out in the Unearthed Arcana that gave, what was it, Mind Sliver, that did a d4 of damage and gave monsters disadvantage. And my first thought was, all right, well, that one's a ban if that ever gets printed. I'm not having that in any of my games.
Maybe it's just once. Maybe you can just do it once.
Malkara, I forgot. I missed this comment before, but Malkara was asking, can we compare this to Color, where some of the ability cost?
That's a very interesting back and forth, huh? Because they're both bards.
That's true. But I would also say, I don't know if you'd want to compare against Color, because I don't think Color is a perfect thing either.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, we're being a little bit extra critical here because we're directly comparing to this rubric and all these different things. But the thing is, right, bards are all very different. None of the subclasses are really similar. Even the two melee ones, the three melee ones, Whispers, Valor, and Swords, are just so freaking different with how they work. And they're all radically different in their power levels and on what abilities are good versus what aren't. They're really just not comparable.
The
Bard is a very...
the Lord and the Valor have the most kind of one-to-one because they were designed at the same time, but like, yeah, like it's a very jumbled design space with the Bard class as a whole, or all the Bard subclasses in D&D 5e. So it's kind of like hard. Cold Spark was saying, I've been looking over the Whisper Bard, and even that has some amount of performance in it, like the act like you belong nature of it. This subclass feels like it should be its own class. I don't know if I agree with that. One, I don't think there's enough in this idea for a class.
Absolutely not.
No.
There's not the space. Like, a class needs to have subclasses and archetypes that you want to fulfill, right? It needs to have a lot of different class fantasies that it can fit under subcategories. And man, I can hardly think of three.
No, I mean, I could think of a lot for a psychologist.
Like,
I mean,
what?
like I could. Well, there's general sort of counseling / therapy, which this sort of fits the mold of. There's behavior. There's behaviorism.
What's that do?
What's the difference between that?
How the hell did you make that a mechanic?
You would focus on positive and negative reinforcement.
Yeah, I don't think you could do that with other player characters in a way that is fun in finished D&D.
You use positive. No. You use positive reinforcement on your allies and negative reinforcement on your enemies.
But wouldn't that negative reinforcement help them?
No.
That doesn't sound like negative reinforcement. That sounds like
negative reinforcement isn't good.
You see, but that just sounds like that just sounds like attacking your enemies and buffing your allies.
All I'm saying is I'm going to make a Freudian subclass that makes people. I don't know.
Boy. All right. Well, we're talking.
Social psych.
Okay, guys. Rubric. We have a rubric. We gotta put this in. Rubric. Oh crap. We got a rubric here.
We're talking about
the space. The subclass.
I agree that's overtuned. It's really close for me.
I'm giving it the fail on balance.
Hold on. If I just take out saving throws, is it good?
I would want it to do more then. Well, already just.
Well, you son of a bitch.
Just a disadvantage on ability checks?
I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, if it's just ability checks.
Attack rolls and ability checks at that point.
What else? Attack rolls, that's what Vicious Mockery already does.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It'd be attack rolls and ability checks. I don't know, man. I wanted to do... Because at a level 6 feature, you're comparing that to the lore bard getting 2 new cool spells.
Maybe double damage, like... Your Vicious Mockery has an extra D4.
It already gets Charisma modifier extra damage.
Oh, it does the extra Charisma modifier damage. Okay, yeah, that gets me a little closer. I forgot about that. I don't know. I think if you took out the Wisdom, I would actually be pretty cool with it because Bards don't get powerful features.
The what?
Bards don't get powerful features, and it's not a super powerful feature.
If you take out the what?
What
the wisdom? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying wisdom for no reason. For the saving throw disadvantage.
Okay.
I was picturing it as wisdom saving throws because that's what you're going to be doing as Bard a lot. So I made a jump that I shouldn't have made.
Either way, rubric as it stands, I don't think it gets to pass on balance.
I don't think it can pass balance.
I think it's got some problems at 3 and then at 6. 14. I really love the 14. The 14's great.
Yeah, I think it works. I think it works.
I like the idea of the therapist, like, always kind of in the back, relaxing. Then you come up against mind flayers, and like they're the dark silhouette, and the mind flayers, a therapist.
On Cold Spark's point of like every bard has, I think therapists have an aspect of performance to them.
I agree with you.
You have to sort of play it straight. But even then, like I think that my subclass includes that sort of guided meditation, the group therapy. Like I feel like they're actively doing something in most of these situations. One-on-one session is the only time when they're, for the most part, not doing anything until the end when they try and talk you out of bad thoughts.
I'm loving that mind flayer encounter that you were talking about too, Jeremy. And I'm just picturing the therapist there, like everyone's like convulsing and like shaking with horrible mental images, and just, we've worked through this. You're stronger than this now, Crabgar. That was your barbarian, Crabgar. I
you know
like
what?
a lot.
Could we add stunned to this list of features at 3rd level? If we made
I thought about
check.
that. If we just make it a save, we could.
I don't know, just a thought process. Anyway, let's talk. So
here's a question: if I moved,
I'm getting lost.
Guided meditation to 6th level, would that be, and removed saving throws? Would that work for the 6th level? Would that be like, all right, that's good enough?
Ooh, yeah, that would definitely be better.
That would be a better arrangement, definitely. So it wouldn't be so stacked.
And I like, because I think Song of Rest already gets a bonus at 5th level, right? Or something like that. Bard's getting improved Song of Rest at some point, maybe. Maybe I made that up, and they don't.
No, it definitely gets.
It becomes D8 at 9th level.
I think it goes up.
Yep. But anyway,
Creamly
guys, we had a goal.
Thank you for the follow.
Thank you, Creamly.
Let's jump back to the rubric. I was inclined to give back the flavor point that we took away earlier because I fell in love with one-on-one session.
So we got space point, flavor point, balance, no. Playability?
We forgot to talk about design.
Well, we're going to get to that. Playability.
I think no for me because of the fear and charm thing is enough to really throw it off for me.
I would agree. And then, so design, that's the last one we're at now. Is the design elegant? Yeah, I think actually the design's great.
I agree.
I think there's nothing here that I think would really hinder gameplay that would be difficult to remember. Yeah, it just seems well done.
The only area that's a little bit off for me is the one-on-one session, actually, which is the DC scaling to the individual. Is a little complicated, but I like it so much that I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, that mechanic, the plus proficiency bonus thing, that's from the College of Whispers, right?
That's just DC.
Okay, you pulled. Okay,
but having it as like
because it's their proficiency bonus is what makes it funky.
Yeah. It's not your proficiency bonus; it's their proficiency.
Yeah.
That makes it a little weird for me, but I like that a lot.
I mean, I could have phrased it as their charisma saving throw DC, but I figured that would be even more confusing. So
that'd be very confusing. Yeah. And the question becomes, right, like that becomes difficult for dungeon masters who don't know proficiency bonus, because proficiency bonus for monsters is a mechanic that's built into monster stat blocks. A lot of DMs don't even realize that monsters have proficiency bonus because they don't understand how monsters built.
But you're going to use it on humanoids mostly, so I like you can use it on an NPC. I see this mostly being used on the party.
Mm-hmm. I see chat also likes the idea of giving them a role, and I'm with you there. Blood was saying, I like this college because it's very thematically unique compared to the other colleges, but that's already been said. Yeah, no, I totally agree, Blood. And just because something's already been said doesn't mean we don't absolutely want to hear it. It's always good to have, confirmation that what we're saying makes sense to you guys. And B, that you agree, because we can be wrong.
Additionally, if you don't agree, also say that and be like, Pete and Jeremy, you overlooked this huge point.
Well, and Mokara, it doesn't matter that you're new. I mean, whether you're new to 5th edition or you've been playing since playtest, or playing D&D forever, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't make sense to you, or if it's not intuitive to you, that's an important thing, right? That's really important when you're designing this kind of stuff. But yeah, I think if we could get rid of their proficiency bonus and find a different way to do that, that might be nicer. Like, even if it's like half their challenge rating or something, that might be a more interesting way of handling it. You know what I mean? I don't know what it would be off the top of my head, but like, I'm just thinking if there's an easier thing that is on the monster stat block, you know what I mean?
But I don't think this is something you use on monsters.
But you can.
Yeah, but like the NPCs, right?
Right. I guess.
The fact that you can, that makes it.
I mean,
just
sure.
a thought, right? That's just my consideration reading it. That being said, I'll give it the point on design handily.
Yeah, no, not an issue.
Yeah.
Like I'm even like, that is honestly the one thing that's preventing me from saying 2 points in design.
Yeah, because it is
because I think there's actually some really inspired design here.
Good.
I love the I love putting something on Vicious Mockery. I love you putting something on Song of Rest. I think both of those.
All 14 features, just very good.
I think both of those are really interesting design points.
And their design that reinforces the flavor, which is really important, in my opinion.
And this was never mentioned, but just to briefly touch on active listening, I felt like active listening wasn't something that was super necessary because you can just do that. You can just take that expertise and insight.
Oh, yeah, I suppose you can.
And plus, nothing else relies on the insight skill in the class.
It just seems like a really strong flavor. It feels like more like saying you should take
this charisma check or your insight check. That might be an interesting one-on-one session if you could.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. But anyway, that was another point I wanted to bring up, but I don't think that would have tied into balance anyway, and I don't think we've already talked about that enough. So,
overall, pretty solid.
Yeah, that is. You have obtained 3 points. So you're just under the. And also keep in mind that 5 out of 5 means that this is something that we feel is ready to be published. So this scale is heavily weighted in the sense that, 5 out of 5 is, we would think that this could be in the player's handbook as it is. So I think that was a really strong. I liked the College of Therapy, Crowley.
We're going to be going with guidance going forward.
College of Guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold on guidance yet, but I like it.
I like guidance. I would say also, hello, Lion of Lore, welcome. And yes, the Bardic Inspiration, the Vicious Mockery one actually does have an X uses per long rest. It's your charisma modifier, right, Crowley?
Correct.
Yeah, yes. So it does have that, Lion, which definitely would need that. And welcome, coming here right around the end of the show for now.
So anyway, Crowley, thank you for being our first guest on LICH'S LAIR and bringing this awesome. You went bold. I thought you might come because, as I'll explain in a moment, subclass though, which was a strong play.
I'm realizing I kind of set the hard bar a little high. So sorry.
Thanks again, Crowley. I'm going to move you down for now.
Now, hold on. I
before you go,
have some questions.
Oh, please. Yeah.
That I think would be useful for chat. But Jeremy, you said something before I go.
Oh, well, no, you can go first.
No, you go first.
Okay. So we just got the rough cut here, right? The College of Therapy. You put some of this together literally today. But overall, we've gotten some feedback here. We've really talked over what our thoughts are, where it really could be stronger, where it maybe could be weaker, where it needs to get twisted and turned around. Is this something that we're going to see again on? And maybe it's a question for Pete as well. This
was one of my questions for Pete.
Yeah, are we going to see this guy again coming on Fantasy Labs in a future episode, maybe on a more polished and updated version, incorporating the wider field of guidance, right, and self-help, for lack of a better term?
I think absolutely.
Ooh, College of Self-Help.
The College of Self-Help.
No, I mean this guy's helping you. It's not really self-help.
Yeah, College of.
Realized that after I said it.
Jeff Help, if your character's name.
But that would self-help would be a psychology subclass.
Anyway, the answer is yeah, absolutely, Crowley. If you put more work into this, and then bring it back and think, I think this is ready to go, then we would absolutely go back over it. Probably not in the LICH'S LAIR here, as we did this time. But
maybe in the more general stuff, like we did with mine, which was all very positive. I like the really positive one.
When do I get to judge Jeremy's stuff?
Next week.
Anytime that you wish.
All right.
Yeah, next week when I bring in the... I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Are you doing a subclass too? That seems cool.
I might.
And anyway, Crowley, thank you so much for coming and joining us on here in the LICH'S lair. Outro sting. And now I'm going to move you down, Crowley. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and for those unaware, Crowley in the chat is Farfel13. So, yeah. If you have your ideas that you would like to either get some feedback on in a creative, not creative, but a creative and constructive environment, you can go ahead and check out our Discord. You can get to there by dndtime.stream #Discord. You can come join our Discord, post stuff in our workshop channel, and get some feedback. And when you have something that you think is ready to roll, you can stick it in our completed work section, and maybe we'll bring you on to talk about your stuff on our show.
Additionally,
in the LICH'S lair.
I was going to say, specifically, if you are interested in doing the LICH'S lair, feel free to also private message me on the server and just say, hey, this is something I would like to at some point do, and I have something ready to go for it, so that way I'll know, because we aren't just going to like impromptu bring people on for LICH'S lair. We want to be prepared for it, because we also don't want anyone to like be expected to come on who isn't down for the experience of having someone like really actively and critically pour over their work, because that can be a scary thing sometimes. So
absolutely.
Again, big shout out to Farfel13 for taking the first step with us and being willing to do that with us.
Yep. Appreciate that very much, my friend.
Absolutely. Again, if you want something rated in this way and really fine-toothed, message me and let me know.